Have you ever felt like you're running on a hamster wheel, trying and trying endlessly but never feeling it's enough? Work, family, and the endless expectations from society, all of it makes you wonder, who am I really living for? In the race to achieve success, recognition, or the image of being perfect, we easily forget the most important thing, understanding and loving ourselves. But remember, self-love doesn't mean indulgence or avoiding responsibility. It is a journey to live honestly with yourself, to take charge of your choices, and to commit to the values you hold dear. This video will help you reflect on yourself, begin the journey of self-love, and build a meaningful life. If you find this content helpful, please subscribe to the channel and like the video to motivate me to create more new videos. Are you ready? Let's start. David, 45 years old, lives in the suburbs of New York and works as a mid-level manager at a tech company. He has been married for over 18 years and has 2 children, a 14-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl. For David, the meaning of success has always been tied to providing fully for his family, a comfortable home, luxurious vacations, and a secure educational future for his children. But in recent years, David has felt like he's running endlessly. Work demands have increased day by day. Meetings, emails, and pressure from superiors consume almost all of his time. At home, he often comes back so exhausted that he cannot even spend an hour of quality time with his wife and children. Deep down, David knows he's missing out on the most precious moments of family life. One evening, after returning home from a meeting that lasted until 8 p.m., he saw his son sitting alone at the dining table with a plate of cold food. David asked, "Why haven't you eaten?" The boy replied in a disappointed tone, "I waited for you, but I guess you were busy again." That remark hit David like a punch to the gut. He felt guilty and empty. He began to wonder, am I doing the right thing? Or am I just trying to meet societal expectations and forgetting what truly matters? The next morning, while scrolling through an article on his phone, David came across a quote by Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor. Remember, a man's worth is not measured by the wealth or success society sees, but by what he chooses to live and believe in. That quote made David think deeply. He started questioning himself. What are my core values? Am I living according to those values, or am I just chasing social pressures to seem successful? From then on, David decided he needed to find a way to live true to his values. He realized that loving oneself doesn't mean avoiding responsibilities, but prioritizing what truly matters, not just for work or others, but for himself and his family. Do you see yourself in David's story? He has started his journey of change. How about you? Are you ready? In the next section, we'll explore specific steps to love yourself the right way. After reading Marcus Aurelius' quote, David couldn't stop thinking about it. During his morning commute to the office, he silently asked himself, what are my core values? What truly matters to me beyond work and money? When he found a quiet moment in his day, David decided to write down whatever came to mind. At first, it was difficult. His thoughts were crowded with unfinished projects, unpaid bills, and the pressure from colleagues. But then he reminded himself to focus on what truly mattered, not on short-term distractions. Finally, he identified 3 core values. Family. Nothing is more important than spending quality time with his wife and children, helping them grow up in a loving and supportive environment. Integrity. David wanted to live honestly, not just with others but with himself. He realized that sometimes he pretended everything was fine, when in reality, he was burnt out. Balance. He craved a life that wasn't solely centered on work, but also included time to enjoy, learn, and grow personally. After completing the list, David felt a slight sense of relief. But the bigger question remained. How can I live according to these values when everything around me seems to work against them? That evening, after dinner, David decided to talk with his wife, a rare occurrence in recent months. He shared what he had written down and asked her, "What do you think? Am I truly living by these values?" His wife paused for a moment, then replied, "I know you love your family, but sometimes you forget to show it. I understand work is important, but the kids need to see more of you than just a man exhausted at the end of the day." Her words struck a chord with David. He realized that while he had been striving to provide for his family, he had forgotten the most important thing: presence. Not just being physically at home, but truly spending meaningful time with the people he loved. From that day forward, David set a new rule for himself: no work after 7 p.m. and at least 1 hour each evening dedicated to doing something with his family. Playing games, reading, or simply talking. During this time, David also began journaling daily, reflecting on whether his actions aligned with the values he had identified. Whenever he felt lost, he asked himself, "Am I living true to what I believe in?" Understanding your core values is the first step to self-love. When you know what truly matters, you can begin shaping your life to align with those values. But understanding alone isn't enough. You must act on them. David did, and so can you. Have you thought about your core values? If not, try writing them down as David did. Ask yourself, what truly matters to me? How can I live according to these values every day? Even though David had committed to living by his values, he still faced a major challenge: subconscious comparisons with others. One morning, while checking his email, David came across a LinkedIn post from an old colleague, Mark, who had just been promoted to CEO at a major company. In the post, Mark shared photos of his brand new suburban house, an expensive Tesla, and a recent family vacation in the Maldives. Seeing these images, David couldn't help but feel envious. He thought to himself, "Why am I working so hard and still not achieving things like this? Am I not talented enough?" This thought weighed heavily on him, and even during meetings, he found himself unable to focus. That evening, while reading a bedtime story to his daughter, she suddenly asked, "Daddy, why do you keep sighing? Are you unhappy?" This simple question startled David. He realized that he had allowed the negative emotions from comparing himself to others to affect his mood, even during precious moments with his daughter. The next morning, David decided to seriously reflect on this issue. He recalled a lesson from Stoic philosophy that he had once read: "Don't waste your energy comparing yourself to others. Instead, compare yourself to who you were yesterday." This quote was an awakening for David. He realized that Mark's success did not mean he was failing. Everyone's life has its own circumstances, and he needed to focus on his own journey rather than looking at others. To take action, David made 3 major changes to his daily habits. Limiting social media. David decided to spend only 15 minutes a day on social media and never browse while with his family. He also reminded himself that what he saw online was just the surface. No one posts their real struggles. Comparing himself to himself. Every evening before bed, David wrote down 3 things he did better than the day before. For example, one day he spent an extra 20 minutes playing basketball with his son. Another day, he finished a report ahead of schedule and spent more time reading. These small actions helped him feel like he was making progress, rather than being stuck in a cycle of meaningless comparisons. Practicing gratitude. David started a gratitude practice by writing down 3 things he appreciated each day. This helped him realize that his life was already full: a loving family, good health, and the core values he was building. One evening, while watching a movie with his family, David noticed his children's smiles and realized that this was his Maldives. It wasn't an expensive vacation, but the peace and genuine happiness he felt with his family. Comparison is a silent enemy. It erodes self-esteem and steals the joy of the present moment. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. David learned to let go of meaningless comparisons to focus on what truly matters. How about you? Are you letting comparisons drag you down? If so, try David's strategies. Limit social media, track your own progress, and practice gratitude for the life you already have. Let's come together to support our community. If you are a kind person, please hit the like button on this video and leave some energetic comments to spread positive vibes. Together, we can make a difference. After identifying his core values and letting go of the habit of comparing, David faced another challenge: how to maintain discipline and respect for himself in his daily actions. He realized that self-love wasn't just an idea, It needed to be reflected in disciplined habits that helped him stay committed to himself and the things he valued. The first test of discipline came on a Monday morning. The alarm rang at 6:30 a.m., the time David had set to start a light workout before preparing for the day. But his body felt sluggish, and he was tempted to hit snooze and sleep a little longer. Just as his hand reached for the phone, a question popped into his mind. If I can't do this small thing, how can I respect myself to achieve bigger goals? David sat up, driven by a Stoic principle he had read. You cannot control the world, but you can always control yourself. He got up, put on his workout clothes, and completed a simple 20-minute routine. By the end, he felt more awake and clear-headed. This wasn't just a small win for his health. It was proof that he could take charge of himself, even in the smallest actions. Discipline at work was another major lesson. David often felt pressured to respond to every request immediately, even when it disrupted his focus on more important tasks. One day, after receiving an urgent email from his boss asking for an impromptu meeting, David felt the familiar surge of stress. But this time, instead of rushing to comply, he asked himself, is this truly urgent, or am I reacting out of fear of disappointing others? After analyzing the situation, David realized the meeting could be scheduled for later in the afternoon without impacting overall progress. He replied to the email with an alternative proposal, which his boss accepted. In that moment, David realized that saying no or not yet was also a form of self-respect. He was setting boundaries for himself instead of letting others dictate his every move. Discipline within his family also became a priority. One evening, while the family was having dinner, David received a call from a colleague about an important project. In the past, he would have immediately left the table to answer. But this time, he turned off the phone and said, "Tonight is family time. We're together, and that's what matters most." The entire family was surprised by David's decisiveness, especially his children. His son smiled and said, "Wow, Dad, you can say no now." That moment not only made David proud, but also reminded him that keeping his word to his family was an essential part of discipline and self-respect. Discipline isn't just about willpower to achieve goals. It's about steadfastness in protecting the values you hold dear. It helps you respect yourself and earns the respect of others. David learned to maintain discipline in even the smallest areas of his life, from waking up early, setting boundaries at work, to prioritizing family time. What about you? Is there something in your life where laziness or external pressure is taking over? Try starting like David, with small steps, a short workout, a reasonable no, or a clear decision to dedicate time to your family. Each action helps you build stronger discipline and self-respect. Despite making many positive changes in his life, David still faced a significant issue. The mistakes of his past continued to haunt him. On some nights, after everyone else had fallen asleep, David lay awake thinking about the times he failed to balance work and family. He recalled the birthdays of his son that he missed, the vacations he brought his laptop and work emails to, and the moments he lost patience with his wife and children due to the stress of the day. These thoughts made him feel like a failure. David wondered, do I deserve my family's forgiveness? Is it too late to make things right? One morning, while reading, he came across a quote from Seneca, the Stoic philosopher. Man is not defined by his mistakes, but by how he rises and learns from them. These words shone like a light in David's mind. He realized that continuing to torment himself would only keep him trapped in the past. What truly mattered was not what he had done wrong, but whether he was willing to make amends and improve. The first step toward forgiveness began with confronting his guilt. That evening, David sat down with his wife and honestly shared his thoughts. I know that I haven't always been there when you and the kids needed me most. I've let work take over too much, and I deeply regret that. His wife looked at him, took his hand, and said, David, I don't expect you to be perfect. I just need you to be a husband and father who can admit his mistakes and try to do better every day. We still have time to rebuild everything. Her words felt like a release. David realized that forgiveness doesn't just come from others, it starts with forgiving himself. Next, David took action to repair his past mistakes. He he decided to turn his promises into concrete actions. Spending quality time with family, David committed to never missing another birthday and to planning family vacations in advance, ensuring that work would not interfere. Resolving conflicts quickly. Whenever small conflicts arose at home, instead of letting them linger, David focused on addressing them immediately, apologizing when necessary, and resolving issues constructively. Practicing self-compassion. Whenever a negative thought about his past mistakes surfaced, he reminded himself, "This is not the full story of who I am. I'm improving every day, and that's what matters." A memorable moment occurred a few weeks later. While David was helping his daughter with her homework, she suddenly said, "Dad, I've noticed you smile more these days. I like that." That simple comment confirmed for David that he was on the right path. Forgiving himself not only brought him inner peace, but also helped him become a better father and husband every day. Forgiving yourself doesn't mean excusing your mistakes. It's about seeing them as lessons and committing to living better. Your mistakes don't define who you are. How you act afterward is what truly matters. David has started forgiving himself. What about you? Try writing down a mistake that you still feel guilty about and ask yourself, what have I learned from this? What can I do today to change? Don't let the past drag you down. Use it as a stepping stone to become a better version of yourself. David's story shows that the journey to self-love isn't an unreachable ideal, but begins with small, meaningful changes in life. From understanding core values, letting go of meaningless comparisons, building discipline, to learning how to forgive himself, he transformed from a man weighed down by pressure into someone living with purpose and happiness. The lesson is clear. Loving yourself doesn't mean being selfish or shirking responsibility. It means living honestly with yourself, protecting what truly matters, and being willing to make amends. When you love yourself the right way, you not only find peace within, but also spread happiness to those around you. Like David, you too can start today. Don't wait for perfection. Take action step by step, day by day. Life isn't measured by what you achieve, but by how honestly and meaningfully you live with your values. Thank you for watching this video. Let's support our wonderful community by hitting subscribe and turning on notifications right now. Show everyone that you're living kindly by liking the video and sharing your experiences in the comments. Take action now to spread positive energy.